Hey everyone, I'm Northern Explorer. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be installing this shore power plug, this 1750 watt inverter, and this 10 amp battery charger. This inverter is a few years old. I managed to salvage this out of my previous four-wheel camper after I totaled it. It's a 1750 watt Xantrix X-Power inverter. If I was to buy another one, I'd probably go with a pure sine wave, but at the time, this seemed to be the right one for the right price, and there's been very few items that this hasn't been able to run because of the modified sine wave. And as you can see, I specifically built my cabinet to fit this nicely. So today we are going to install this. Per manufacturer recommendations, I have 1/0 wire and a 150 amp circuit breaker. I have a 5-foot negative, 4-foot positive, and then another 1-foot positive. Hope I made this long enough. So the wires are making their way from the inverter across the top of the stove. I still need to drill a couple of holes here, and then they're gonna drop into the battery box. But so the wires aren't just hanging across this span, I'm gonna put a piece of wood in here so I can attach this so they're secure. So here's my inverter. I have the wires going behind the sink, going across, and then behind the stove, you can see it back there, and then it drops down into the battery compartment area. So what I'm gonna do right now, I have about 4 inches of clearance between the stove and those wires, but I'm just gonna do a little test to see how much heat radiates down, just to make sure those wires are going to be safe. So I'm going to fire up both burners. Do a little test. What do we got? 84 degrees. I'm going to let that run for about 10 minutes and then test it again. If I can touch that, I think those wires are going to be safe, but I'll measure the temperature anyways, so give it 10 minutes. So that's been going for about 10 minutes, both burners on full blast, and I'm just going to give it the touch test. It's not even warm. So temperature, didn't change, not even a degree. So I have no issues with running those DC wires back there. So here's the finished installation. I think it turned out pretty good. It looks like it's in a pretty confined area, but I did take airflow into consideration. Air is drawn in through the bottom, through the onboard fan, and then warm air is exhausted out the back where I provided some venting holes. And if you're wondering why I would need such a large inverter, it's for the occasional use of my wife's hairdryer. Most hairdryers that you see in the stores use 1875 watts, which would overpower even this big inverter. But I found one on Amazon that uses 1200 watts, which should work just fine. charger I chose is the NOCO Genius 10-1. It'll charge 10 amps into one battery bank. This charger will charge a battery with a voltage as low as 1 volt. A lot of other chargers on the market won't do that. This unit has the ability to charge a standard wet cell, AGM, or lithium battery. Once the unit is set, it will remember the kind of battery it's connected to, even when unplugged. This unit will adjust the charging cycle based on ambient temperature. A lot of the other units on the market may undercharge in cold weather or overcharge in hot weather. It can charge a battery bank as big as 230 amp hours, so it'll have no problem charging my 158 amp hour battery bank. The NOCO Genius can extend battery life by automatically detecting and repairing battery sulfation. With limited space in this camper, I wanted a charger that is compact. This charger fits the bill. So my plan is to put this 10 amp charger in with the batteries, and I should have just barely enough room to mount it right up here. The batteries should be able to slide in right underneath it, just barely. I guess we'll find out here. So my idea is to have an outlet under the sink that I'm going to plug this into. So I just got to have a hole saw drilled big enough for this to fit through, and then I'll re-caulk all this so it's still airtight, and then I'll run these wires a little bit neater. Looks like if I just shave just a hair off of this plug, I should be able to fit it through an 1 1/8" hole, because I don't want to go any bigger than I absolutely have to. So that's what it looks like before I put the face of the cabinet back on. And this is what it looks like with everything all put together. As you can see, I can easily look in to check on my state of charge. The shore power plug that I'm going with is this one, QWF it says on it. I like this one because the wire comes straight out the back. Some of them, they kind of come at an angle like this, which I can see can be problematic depending on how thick your wall is. So the plan is to cut the end off and then tin the ends of the wires and then connect it straight into my circuit breaker box. So my plan is to add the shore power plug to this area of the camper. It's gonna work best with the interior layout that I have planned for all of my wiring. So the first thing I'm gonna need to do is find a safe place to drill through the back of my camper. This requires a 2-inch hole. So I'm going to take this piece of trim off and see if I can see the frame behind the wall. So by taking this piece of trim off, I was able to see in this gap where the framing was, and I marked so I know exactly where to drill. The next order of business is to use this 12 gauge extension cord to run a plug from underneath the sink, which is where I have my battery charger cable hanging, all the way around and then over to the circuit breaker box. The reason I'm using an extension cord is because it's stranded wire and it's a lot more flexible, so it'll be able to get around all the tight corners a little bit easier. So the more I thought about it, I was gonna have a plug like this. Here's the cord for the charger, mounted up underneath here somewhere. But this is the only thing that's gonna be plugged into it. So I thought, well, why not just use that and I'll just secure it really good. All right, just gotta feed that through. So I got this 90% put together, and I decided to test everything with my circuit tester, and it was showing that the hot and the neutral were reversed. And I didn't think that was the case based on how I wired it, because I can visually see where everything's going and everything appeared to be correct. But what I realized after some testing is the plug that I used doesn't use standard wiring color for the hot and the neutral. They actually had those reversed, which threw off everything as far as my wiring goes. So all I need to do is switch where I have the incoming hot and neutral, and everything should be okay. And now after rewiring everything, that is as it should be. And with that last screw, I am done with this project. Overall, I'm very happy with how everything turned out. The illuminated plug on the extension cord and the GFCI indicator light will help with troubleshooting the system should problems arise. That's it for this one. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.